below you will find this option by the name of options. So you have to click here, options, and there are various options in this box: general, formulas, data. One of the option is add-ins. So once you will click on add-ins, where various inbuilt add-ins are showing up here. So you have to see for solver. So since I have already enabled this solver, so it is showing in this active application add-ins. So in your systems, when you will start, you will not find this solver add-in in this list, that is active application add-ins. Instead, you will see this option in inactive application add-ins. So for example, it is here. So you have to just click on that solver, and then you have to click here, that is go. So then you have to click on go, then it will be enabled. So once this option is enabled in your Excel, it will show up here under the data tab at the extreme right side. Here you can see this is solver. So once this option is enabled, or this is one of the add-ins. So add-ins means by default it is not enabled, but you can enable it and you can use it after enabling. So this option will show up at the extreme right side, and in your system you will not find data analysis option also. You can enable this data analysis add-in just like you have enabled solver. So in my system, I have enabled data analysis also and solver also. But today I am going to demonstrate, I am going to show you how solver can be used for solving linear programming problems. Linear programming problems. So one of the example of linear programming problem is transportation problem. In transportation problem, the problem is stated like this. Say for example, there are 3 factories, F1, F2, and F3, and there are 4 warehouses. If it is slightly difficult to understand why warehouses, then you can think in terms of retail outlets also. 3 factories, 4 retail outlets, 4 the places from where you can sell. So the factories and the distance between factories and those warehouses is some of the warehouses are near to some factory, so the distance is varying. There are different distances. So of course there will be cost of transportation involved. Transportation involved. So, and every factory has some capacity, how much output it can supply. What is the maximum supply that it can address to? What is the maximum supply that factory 1 can send? What is the maximum supply that factory number 2 can meet? What is the maximum supply that factory number 3 can address? So these are the constants because every factory has some maximum output. Similarly, every warehouse has some demand. Or if it is a retail outlet, then it will be easier for you to digest this, that every outlet has some demand, that how much inventory should be brought every week or every month or whatever is the frequency. So in this problem, if we randomly send sometimes from factory 1 to warehouse 2, sometimes from factory 2 to warehouse 3, this random behavior will increase our cost. So there is a way that through linear programming, we can arrive at a solution that is maximal, that is maximum, or that is optimal, through which we can maximize or we can minimize our cost. Uh, we can minimize our cost. So the problem has been set up in this box. This first matrix is the matrix that shows the transportation cost. So if we transport any goods from factory 1 to warehouse 1, the transportation cost is 10 rupees. Or if it is 1000, then whatever is the unit. It can be rupees also, it can be in hundreds also, thousands also. So for the sake of simplicity, we are keeping the numbers very simple. So if we transport from factory 1 to warehouse 2, the transportation cost is 0. So similarly, this is the matrix that shows the cost involved in transporting the goods from factory to the warehouse. This second matrix that is on the right hand side is the matrix that we have to solve. That how much uh, amount of goods should be sent from which factory to which warehouse, so that our cost of transportation is minimized. Because that is I mean, minimization of the cost is one of the objective of every firm, because management is nothing but doing things efficiently and effectively. So if we are not able to minimize the cost, that is not good from management point of view. So the objective here is, in this case, is to minimize the cost. And on this side we have the supply constant, that factory 1 can maximum, the supply of factory 1 can be 20, and the maximum supply of factory 2 is 25, and the maximum supply that factory 3 can send is 15. Similarly, there are 4 warehouses: warehouse 1, warehouse 2, warehouse 3, warehouse 4. Every warehouse has its own demand. So warehouse 1 has a demand of 10 units. Warehouse 2 has a demand of 15 units. Warehouse 3 has a demand of 15 units. And warehouse 4 has a demand of uh, 20 units. So these are the equalities, what you call in the, I mean, in such kinds of problems. But these are also constants. These are these constants, supply constant, and these are the demand. So after setting up this problem, first you have to calculate the total cost. So let me calculate it here. We will start with an equal sign, and I will use sum product. These are the cost. So I have selected this cost matrix. After selecting this cost matrix, you have to select this in these units, the number of goods, the matrix. So after selecting this, I will close this bracket and press enter. So this is the total cost of transportation that is coming out to be 460. So we can change it as something from here also. For example, let me change it to 2, or let me change it to 3. Let me change it to 5, whatever. So I have disturbed this matrix actually, which is not optimal. Now the total cost is coming out to be 616. So, now this matrix is wrong, because this is not optimal. Our cost has increased to 616. So let us see how we can solve this problem. How we can solve this problem using solver. So before going to the solver option, first you have to select the objective cell. Our objective cell is this one, which contains the total cost, which contains the solution which contains the formula for calculation of the total cost. So our total cost is nothing but the multiplication of the matrix 1 and matrix 2. Matrix 1 is the matrix for this transportation cost, and the matrix 2 is the one which we have to fill. We have put some random values here, and we are multiplying these number of units with cost, and the total cost is being calculated using the formula of sum product, which multiplies rows and columns. So this is total cost. So our objective is to minimize this total cost. So total cost is our objective. So first we have to select this objective cell, then come to the solver. The solver option is here on the extreme right side under the data tab, and this will show up once you will enable this add-in. So come to the solver option. Since I have already maximized, minimized and solved this problem, so this is showing up the constant. So let me first delete it so that how this constant has been created will become clear to you. So the first option that we have to fill is set objective. Set objective, our objective is to minimize the cost. So our cost it has been calculated in the cell M38. So M38 is already here. And the second option is what we want to do: maximize, minimize, or we want to set this value to some particular number. So in this problem, our objective is to minimize. So we will select this option, that is MIN, which is the short form of minimize. So we have to minimize M38. M38 is the cell where the calculation of the total cost has been done. Then after selecting this minimization or the min, the next option is, it is asking which values should be changed to arrive at the optimal solution. So we have to fill this matrix which contains the number of units that should be supplied from one factory to another factory. So so we have to specify here that L31 to O33, L31 to O33, which is the matrix. Let me delete it and then again select this cell. So you have to select this matrix because to arrive at the optimal solution or the minimum cost, some values has to be changed, and we are keeping the cost constant. So the another input in the calculation of the total cost is the number of units that should be transported from different factories to different warehouses. So we are specifying here that we are asking this software to change these values to arrive at the minimum total cost. Now after
Excuse me,
specifying,
sir.
yes.
Sir, the changes that you're making are actually not visible. We can see the screen, but not the dialog box for solver.
Yes, sir. It's not visible.
Yes, sir, it is
Yes,
not
sir, it's
visible.
not visible.
Okay, see, the dialog box is not visible.
So we are not able to
No, no, sir.
figure out the changes that you are making in the spreadsheet.
Okay, so let me try it. Full screen. Acha. Okay, just wait. I'm trying so that the dialog box is also visible.
Sir, might be you are only sharing your tab.
Hmm? No,
तो
no.
सिर्फ
Okay.
फुल स्क्रीन कर दीजिए सर.
Stop presenting. Then again, entire screen कर देता हूँ. अब है visible dialog box?
So we are not able to see
We
the
are not
screen.
able to see the
Sir,
screen.
even screen, you are not presenting anything right now.
And now?
Yes,
Perfect.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
visible.
Now it's visible.
Visible.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the dialog box or the solver options are visible on your screen. So this is what I was talking about. The first option is set objective. So in this set objective, you have to select the
Sir,
cell.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Sir, can you please, start the process again because we're not able to see anything.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So before using solver, first you have to enable this option, and this option can be enabled by coming to the file tab. Under this file tab, you will find the option of enabling, and that option comes here, that is options. So once you will click on this options, various options are coming here, and one of the option is add-in. So you will have to select this add-in under these under this option. Various add-ins or extra features. Add-ins mean extra features that are not enabled by default. So one of the extra feature in most of the spreadsheet software is solver. So solver is showing up here in this active application add-in. So if it is not enabled, then it will show up here under the heading of inactive application add-in. So you have to select add-in, that solver add-in, and then you have to press here, that is go. So once you will press on this go, again a separate dialog will open, and it will ask, I mean, there are several sub components of solver also. So it will ask which component of the solver you want to enable. So just select all of them, or if you are very sure that you are not interested in some other add-ins, then you may ignore some of them also. So once you will enable this, it will the option of solver will show up here under the data tab. Under the data tab here on the right extreme side, so in my screen, there are two options which are visible here. The first option is data analysis, and the second option is solver. So you have to use this solver option. So if a problem is given, so first you have to formulate and set up the problem. So the transportation problem has to be expressed in terms of matrix. So this is the matrix for transaction cost, and this is the matrix for number of units that should be transported from different factories to different warehouses. And these are the constants that factory 1 can the maximum supply of factory 1 is 20, and the maximum supply of factory 2 is 25. And the maximum supply of factory 3 is 15. And these are the demands. Demand of warehouse 1 is 10, demand of warehouse 2 is 15. So after writing the problem in this form, then you have to calculate the total cost. The total cost is nothing but the multiplication of these two matrix, that is matrix for cost and the matrix for the number of units that are being transported from different warehouses, from different factories to different warehouses. So that cost can be calculated by using this function, that is sum product. Multiply this matrix by this. So it is calculating the total cost of transporting the goods from factories to warehouses. So in such kinds of problem, the objective or the aim is to minimize the cost. So first you have to select this cell where the cost has been calculated. After selecting this cell, you come to the solver option. This dialog box will be opened. And since we have started after selecting the cell where cost has been calculated, so by default M38 is showing up here. Otherwise, if it is not showing up, then we can select also. Say for example, I have deleted the reference of the cell, and I will select this cell, and M38 will again show up here. After selecting the objective cell, in older versions, this objective cell was also known as target cell. Target cell. So target cell means the outcome cell that we want to change, either maximize or minimize, or the third option is also here, that is set the objective to a particular value. So in this case, our objective is to minimize. So by default it is showing up here minimization. Otherwise, if our objective is maximization, we can select this maximize or value 2 also, but let us select minimize. After selecting this minimize, the third option that we have to specify is which values should be changed in the formula to minimize the cost. So these are the second matrix that shows the number of units that should be transported from different factories to different warehouses. That matrix has to be changed because we want to arrive at the optimal solution, at the optimum number of units transported from different factories to warehouses in such a manner that should minimize the total cost of transportation. So we have to specify here the things that should be varied. So these values should be varied. After selecting this, we have to specify the constants. What are the constants? So first, our constant is regarding the supply. So this is the total supply, which should be less than or equal to there are various options coming here: less than or equal to, more than or equal to, integer, binary, and so you have to select this option, that is less than or equal to. Less than or equal to what? Equal to the maximum supply of each factories. So once I will click add, this constant will be added here. So now this constant is showing up here because we cannot supply more than the maximum capacity of the factory, and the maximum capacity or maximum supply of different factory is already mentioned here. So we have to solve this problem, but this is our constant, that every factory, for example, factory 1 can supply only up to 20 units. Then factory 2 can supply only 25 units. So things like that. So after specifying this, another constant is the demand. That demand should be met. So the demand of warehouse is 10, demand of warehouse is 2 is 15. So this is the constant, that minimum number of units that should be supplied to these warehouses is given here, that is 10, 15, 15 and 20. So this has to be specified in the constants also. So come to this add option, add constant. So once you will click on add, it will ask for the specification. So first it is asking for the reference. So first you can provide the reference of the demand. So this demand should be either equal to or more than. Equal to or more than. So this is our constant, and this is our demand. So select this demand 10, 15, 15, 20. And I will press OK. So now these two constants have been created. So after creating these constants, I don't think there is any other constant. This is the only two constant regarding supply and constant regarding the demand. The demand should be met. And so now the problem has been constructed. The setup has been complete. Now we have, I think, specified the problem. We have explained the problem to this software. So after specifying the problem, the next option is to solve this problem. So these are the three options: help, solve, and close. So we have to solve. There are various options, for example, simplex method, evolutionary method, GRG, nonlinear. So it will not make a major difference because this is a very simple problem. So just the default option is simplex linear programming. Let it be just like that, simplex method, and click on solve. So once you will click on solve, it will find a solution. It is saying that solver found a solution. All constants and optimality conditions are satisfied. So after you will press OK. So total cost has now been minimized, which is 460. And now this matrix has been filled out. So for example, the demand of warehouse 1 is 10, and that demand will be met from factory 3. So factory 3 will supply 10 units to warehouse 1. And similarly, warehouse 2 has a demand of 15. Out of this 15 units, 10 units will be supplied from factory 2 and 5 units will be supplied by factory 1. So similarly, this solution has been generated, or this solution has been arrived by this function that is known as solver. So linear programming has an application in case of transportation problem, but linear programming problems are in every field. Just transportation cost and minimization of the transportation cost is one of the problem where linear programming has been applied. But every linear programming problem can be solved using this solver function, because in solver we can maximize or minimize, and we can specify the constants, whatever is the constants, non-negativity, more than this, less than this. So we can specify those constants here. After specifying these constants, we can solve that problem. Another simple problem that is in which case we can use a solver. This is very simple problem because in this problem there is no constant. We have to just maximize or minimize, or we can let us see what is the problem. In this example, the question is how much you should invest each year to be able to draw 1 crore at the end of 10th year. The rate of return in the market where the money is being put is 15%. So we are assuming here a rate of return of 15%, and the period of investment is 10 years. So the question here is how much money we should invest every year so that at the end of the 10th year, we should have 1 crore of rupee in our hand. And the expected return on investment is already given, that is 15%. So I have entered this initial investment. So say, for example, our initial investment is 10,000. Then our corpus at the end of the 10th year will be 2,33,493, which is objective function. This is our input function or decision variable, the amount of investment that we will make every year. And this is our output or objective function, objective cell, which contains the corpus at the end of the 10th year. So the problem is that the investor wants 1 crore of rupee at the end of 10th year. So he is asking how much he should invest every year. I mean, that amount will be constant. We are not assuming any growth in the amount of SIP, in the amount of the money that every year that person is investing. That amount will remain constant. So if he is investing 10,000, then next year also he will invest 10,000, like that. So if he has invested 10,000 and the return on his investment is 15%, so the year end value will be 10,000 multiplied by 1 plus 15%. So at the end of 1 year, the value of 10,000 will become 11,500, and in next year he will again invest 10,000. So 10,000, that is B4 is 10,000. This reference will be fixed, plus the amount that the 10,000 has already become 11,500. So 11,500 plus 10,000. So every year you have to add 10,000. So on that amount, again 15% return will be generated, and at the end of the year, that amount will become 24,725. So this will continue happening, and at the end of the 10th year, this 10,000 amount will become 2,33,493. So if our objective is to arrive at a corpus of 1 crore, so how much money should be invested every year? So first you have to select this objective function, objective cell, then come to the solver. So D13 actually contains our outcome cell or the objective cell. So it is correct. Then this is example of neither maximization nor minimization, but we want D13 to set to a particular value, and what that particular value is 1 crore. So I will type here 1 crore, 1 crore. How many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros are there. So I have typed 1 crore here. I want the D13 to be equal to 1 crore. Then it is asking which variable should change. Which variable should change? So which variable should change? The amount of money that is invested every year. So that amount contains in the cell B4. So this is the B4 cell. If it is not here, then we can select this B4. So in this example, we don't have any constant, because these are the only input. The one input is the amount of money that is being invested every year. Another input is the rate of return, and the amount is being compounded every year. And at the end of 10th year, some corpus or some value has been generated. So there is no constant in this case. So the problem has been specified, and now I will press solve. So once you will press solve, it is saying that solver found a solution. Sometimes what happens that if you have not specified the problem correctly, then you will press solve. The software will not solve the problem, and it will show up some error. So specifying the problem correctly is important. Otherwise, it will not solve a problem. So the things should be very clear. So let me press OK here. Now the objective cell has been set equal to 1 crore. And the initial amount of investment is coming out to be 4,28,279. So we have to invest 4,28,279 rupees every year. And then at the end of 10th year, our amount or our capital will become 1 crore. And this in this example, since there is no constant, So we can solve this problem using solver also, and we can solve this problem using goal seek also, because in goal seek we can set the objective cell to a particular value, and in goal seek we don't have any option for defining the constants. So just let me check whether goal seek can also be used or not. So goal seek option comes under the what if analysis. What if analysis option is also under the data tab. Come to the what if analysis, select goal seek. After selecting this goal seek, it is asking set cell. Which cell? Set cell means objective cell or the outcome cell. So our outcome cell is the capital at the end of 10th year, the corpus at the end of 10th year, which is D13. Then the second option is coming to value. This cell should be equal to what? So this cell should be equal to 1 crore. Crore. 1 crore. So D13 should be equal to 1 crore. Then the third option it is asking to specify is by changing cell. Which cell should be changed? The values in which cell should be changed? So let me specify that the contribution every year, that is B4 should be changed. Then I will press OK, and it will arrive at this solution. Again, the solution has been arrived. The end corpus is 1 crore, and the initial contribution or the recurrent contribution every year will be 4,28,279. So this is how solver can be. Solver has a lot of applications. I will take up some more examples of this solver. These are just the two problems. One problem is from the operations area, that is transportation problem. Another is from the area of finance, from the investment, and it is related with financial planning. The third example that I want you to do yourself and submit this on the Google Classroom. And the problem here has already been specified here. We have several asset classes. The first is bond, equity, real estate, gold, and crypto. Expected return has been given here. Bond has expected return of 8%, 15%, 10%. Real estate and gold is expected return of gold is 6%. Crypto has expected return of 40%. Then amount of investment is given here. How much money is being 1 lakh is being invested in bond, and this and the total amount of investment. So if total amount of investment in this case is 3 lakh divided by 1 lakh, so the weight of bond is coming out to be 0.333 or 33%. So the sum of the weight should be equal to 1. So this is the problem. And then the return has been calculated here, which is 1 lakh multiplied by 8% multiplied by weight. So if you multiply these three things, the annual return from bond will be calculated. And if you will add up all these returns, this will be calculated the portfolio return. The portfolio return is coming out to be, which is nothing but the sum of all returns from all these assets, which is in this case is 43,500. And in terms of percentage, investment was 3 lakh and return is 43,500. So you can calculate the return in terms of percentage also. So now the problem is, this is an example of profit. So whenever we talk about profit, so the objective is to maximize. So our profit cell is E8. So E8 has to be maximized. E8 has to be maximized. And what are the constants? Total investment should not exceed 2,50,000. In this here, the total investment, the sum of the investment is in all these asset classes is 3 lakh. But using solver, you have to specify that the total amount of investment should not be more than 2,50,000. Then the second constant that is given here is that crypto should not be more than 20%. The weightage of crypto should not be more than 20%. This is another constant. Then the third constant is weight cannot be negative, shorting not allowed. So all these weights should be more than 0. More than 0 means they cannot be negative. Weight should be either 0 or some positive value. Shorting is not allowed. Shorting means, shorting is done in the stocks or in the market. Without owning something, we can benefit from the downside. So that thing is called shorting. So we have to specify that also, that weight should be positive. It should not be negative. Then the fourth constant that is mentioned here is 5% allocation to gold is necessary. That 5% of the money has to be compulsorily invested in gold. So these are the 4 constants, and our objective is to maximize E8. So let me first select this objective cell, that is E8, and I will come to the solver. I will select on solver. I have already specified these constants here. So let me first delete it. Delete. So let us start with the first constant. The first constant is that total investment should not exceed 2,50,000. So I will click add constant. So after clicking that add constant, this dialog box will be open, and I have to select the total amount of investment, which is in the cell D8. So D8 should be less than or equal to 2,50,000. First constant has been added. Now the second constant is weightage of crypto should not be more than 20%. The weightage of crypto is here in cell C6. So C6 should be less than or equal to 0.2. 0.2 means 20%. So after specifying the second constant, the third constant is weight cannot be negative. Weight cannot be negative. So weights are here. So I will select these weights and should be equal to or more than 0. So more than 0 means positive. Positive, these weights should be positive. So I have selected, added this constant also. The last constant that is given here is 5% allocation to gold is necessary. So the gold weightage is there here. I will select this C5. So C5 should be equal or more than it. Minimum should be 5%. It can be more than 5%. So that is why C5 should be equal or more than what? 0.05, which is 5%. So all these constants have been specified, and now let me try to solve this. So once I have clicked on the solve, this solver has solved this problem, and this is the optimal solution. That it is asking us to invest 75% in equity and 20% in crypto and 5% in gold. And the total amount of investment that we have already specified in the constant, that it has to be maximum amount of investment should be 2,50,000. So the 2,50,000 is showing up here. Our return in this case will be 48,875, and in terms of percentage, this return is 19.55. So I will, remove these things, and your task is to solve this problem using solver and submit this assignment on the Google Classroom. If there is any question and clarification or any query you want to make, the
So what's the weightage of bonds?
it's zero. It's zero.
And sir, why is it only real estate and bonds is the weightage is shown as 0?
Actually, this software uses trial and error method. So in trial and error method, so it tries different weightages. So what happens is that see, it is 18. So if this number is basically 0.00000, you have to write 18 zeros. Then you have to write 72 and 759 like that. So that amount is, I mean, zero. If you have to write 0.0, then 18 zeros you have to write. So that is equal to zero. So this is, just the feature of this software. Just ignore that. In reality, this is just zero.
Okay, sir.
So now it has become zero because I have manually written here zero. So it has become zero. Okay, thank you very much.
Sir, I have a question. So, like,
Yes.
on this basis, like, if we are establishing a new business, we can figure out, like, in what areas how much we have to invest so that we have the maximum profit, or like investment is completely fulfilled. We do not have to approach other investors for further investment. Is it like something like this, sir?
The objective is to maximize the profit, but given these constraints, so these constraints are already given. So under these constraints, the maximum possible profit is this much.
So we can say like it's a demand forecasting part. We are like forecasting, like if we invest this much money, this can be the profit. Or if we like put these constraints, like this can be the profit. It is so like this.
This is not forecasting. This is a very simple problem where expected return is there, and we have to only calculate the amount of profit that is maximum given some constant, and the constants are here. So already mentioned, specified. If I'm not able to get what specific you are trying to ask, sorry for that.
No problem, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you
very
so much,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.